today.
How do you score that gig?
I know. I mean, she's so cool. She knows all the coolest people, and she's there with NASA today, where obviously they are working on a great project.
And she knew it was going to be cold up here, so she went to Florida.
I mean,
we know how she works.
Yeah, she knows the forecast, that's for sure.
Yes, she does.
We start at 5, though, with some newest developments out of Berea tonight. The Browns officially released Odell Beckham Jr. from the team today.
Yeah, the decision comes ahead of a pretty big game. Nick Camino joins us now. Nick, this doesn't really seem to be a big surprise, though.
No, I mean, this is the way we kind of felt it was going. And yes, oh, by the way, there is a game on Sunday. The Browns have a big game against the Cincinnati Bengals, but all we've been talking about this week has been OBJ. And Jimmy's been here all week. He's been telling us this is kind of the way things were trending, but now it's official. We got word this morning that the Browns will release Odell Beckham Jr. after things clearly went south. His dad with a social media post that was critical of Baker Mayfield's play using some game film. OBJ was excused from practice all week, and according to multiple reports, he had not spoken with head coach Kevin Stefanski since Sunday. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. cannot be claimed on waivers until next week. Someone's going to pick him up. We just don't know who that will be. We wouldn't get that information until next week. But his time in Cleveland has definitely come to an end. Andrew Berry, the Browns general manager, he met with the media today just after 2 o'clock this afternoon in Berea. Here's what he had to say.
I don't think anyone envisioned when the organization traded for Odell 3 years ago, that this would really be the resolution. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, there are just some situations in the NFL where things just don't quite work out.
Sara, Monica, we knew this was the ending. I mean, this is what was going to happen. It just hasn't worked out here, especially this year for him. But you brought up a good point earlier, Monica. This is a big game that the Browns have coming up. And I guess there's part of me that's thinking, okay, so this could go one of two ways. This could be almost like a rallying cry for the Browns. This is something where the guys, start to really come together and form a unit, and they really, can go out there and win this football game. It also could be something where this has become so much of a mess, so much of a distraction, that they look bad out there on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. Big divisional game. You've got the Bengals. They're coming off a loss, so we'll see what happens.
We have been saying must win a bit, but it seems that way again.
I feel like we say that every week.
I know,
it's a must-win game.
For real.
Right?
You know what? They'll win without him. Don't worry about it.
Wow. I like that.
Confidence.
I like
From
that.
the Steelers fan. Just saying.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What? What happened?
Well,
I had
you
no
never
idea.
know. I'm wondering if OBJ is heading to Pittsburgh. That's what I want to know.
Okay, that's it. I'm out of here.
All right.
We'll see
On
you
that
guys.
note, thanks,
We'll
Nick.
see ya.
See ya. Now on your feed at 5, Pfizer says research into its new COVID-19 antiviral pill, very, very promising. The drug maker says data shows their new pill reduces hospitalizations and death in high-risk COVID-19 patients by up to 89%. The drug is mixed with an HIV drug, and the company calls it a game changer and claims it could eliminate 9 out of 10 hospitalizations. The company now has not yet published all of its data, but they will soon ask the FDA for a review and authorization.
Monica, I want to say thank you real quick to all of our viewers who joined us for our town hall last night on kids and COVID. We got some really great questions from people at home just all through the town hall yesterday. Was there anything that the doctor said that kind of stood out to you?
Oh, there was a lot that the doctor said, and it was just amazing. I thought their answers were exceptionally clear and concise.
Yeah.
And they really spelled out all of the concerns a lot of parents had on a variety of subjects, especially those regarding dosage and weight. So many parents are confused about the pediatric dose being given, especially if they have a larger child who they think should qualify for an adult dose. Well, the doctors explained that when it comes to vaccines, it's not about weight. It's about the development of the immune system. And that's why these vaccines are not based on weight. Age has more to do with it. Another great point was about the potential for long-term side effects in the vaccine.
Literally no way for a vaccine to have long-term side effects. And parents are actually misinformed when they say, oh, but we have long-term safety data on these other vaccines. We don't. We don't study long-term safety of vaccines because there's no such thing as long-term safety for vaccines. The vaccine is only in your arm for like a couple of hours to maybe a day, and then it's gone.
She likened it to, when you take a Tylenol, you don't think about developing a disease 10 years later. And she says that's what it's very much about. And I think that was a wow factor for me because I sat there going, I knew this information, but the way Dr. Edwards presented it was so clear and concise. Every one of them was amazing. So I really hope that if you haven't seen it, we have it online at WKYC.com, and especially if you're a parent, you should check it out.
Yeah, we addressed some of the FAQs and left them all there in a really easy way to find. But I agree with you, Monica. They were just spot on. They brought it, made sense for all the rest of us. I know you've got the science background too, but as a parent, we do have a lot of questions, and they helped kind of compare it to things that we already feel comfortable with, the other vaccines and the processes that we already know. I mean, I feel like we've all been paying so much attention with COVID. We've learned a lot more about the process, but I think the comparison really helped bring it back down.
And they were so friendly and non-judgmental.
Yes,
that's what I
too.
love too. That was really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was so much fun last night. Well, Cleveland's newly elected city council selected its next president today, Councilman Blaine Griffin.
Citizens of this community want to see change.
Griffin, who has represented Ward 6 since 2017, addressed the room, including 5 newly elected colleagues of the 16 present. The council-elect voted unanimously for Griffin, committing the caucus to officially vote for him into the role once the new term begins in January. Over the next few months, he'll work with council leadership to select committees and their chairs. He's expected to bring experience and some balance to City Hall and work alongside Mayor-elect Justin Bibb to serve the residents.
This mayor and this administration is going to have a lot to deal with. We need to be a good partner. In order to move this city forward, it's going to have a strong council. There's new dynamics that's at play right now, and we got to make sure that we rise to the challenge of what the people wanted to see.
Griffin said addressing safety and food and housing insecurity were at the top of his list, and also restoring transparency and trust in the city government's processes.
All right, changes are coming to high school curriculums around the state, and if they're not there already, your high schooler may be taking courses in personal finance to prepare them for adulthood. Brandon Simmons spoke to experts who say this small change could have a huge effect on future generations.
It's a course often not taught, but required for life. And in a few years, every high schooler in Ohio will be required to take a course in personal finance.
Yeah, I'm so excited that this is going to be a requirement here in Ohio. Again, if you can limit yourself from making any sort of mistakes early out in your life and having to unwind those later, why not start with the right information when you're young and ready to listen?
Governor Mike DeWine signed the bill into law, which requires Ohio students to take at least one half-credit course prior to graduation, starting in the 2024-25 school year. Some schools around the state offer courses already, and many students say it may be the most important class they take.
I would say, yeah, that undoubtedly the most important, because it helps you manage your money.
Emmanuel Velkos is a junior at North Royalton High School. His personal finance course teaches him methods for budgeting, how to stay out of debt, and investing long term.
If you're not taking the class, you are severely missing out on being able to invest and plan for your future.
So we're seeing more and more of an awareness that the more we can educate, and especially at a younger age, the more we can actually help everyone here move forward with good financial steps.
Ohio is now the 10th state nationwide to require courses in financial literacy, and the largest state to do so with more than 600 school districts. An important step Velkos believes will make his generation smarter.
And now with this making it a requirement, more students will take, and if other states follow, maybe this could be the generation that ends like long-term debt completely, because this class truly helps you out that much.
Now, as many as 26 states and Washington, D.C. have introduced legislation to require finance courses for high schoolers. A lot of that, Monica, of course, centered around the current student loan debt crisis that we're seeing nationwide.
You know, Brandon, I had this class when I was in high school, and it truly was one of the most valuable classes I've ever had. But this mandate doesn't go into effect until 2024. So what can parents do in the interim to make sure their kids are prepared?
You know what? It's funny you had that class, but I didn't. I don't know how that works. But the biggest thing you can do with your kids is talk to them about money, really. You want to make sure they understand the things that you're dealing with day to day in your own life. You want to share some best practices that maybe you've learned over the years. And of course, you want to introduce them to all of the online content, the good stuff that will help them be prepared for the future, Monica.
Save money. That's the best thing I can tell parents to teach their kids. Save your money. All right, Brandon, thank you so much.
Sure.
Next for us tonight, new tenants at Tower City. We'll tell you who's coming to the building as renovations there continue.
Then honoring Cleveland's Artemis Ward. He gave a lot of laughs, and this weekend there's some fun presentations you can check out. Mike Polk Jr. explains.
And Jason is here with the forecast. We are all thinking weekend. Jason.
We are, Sarah. I got a big smile on my face, and hopefully you do too at home. If you don't have plans, make plans. It's going to be an absolutely beautiful weekend, just like today. And if you're going to any fall sports for tonight, prepare yourself for another chilly one out there. But it's going to be clear, it's going to be dry, and it's going to be great for a win. Talk about the weekend and what happens next week, coming up in the full forecast.
Welcome back. The facelift plan for Tower City continues to move forward as the building announced 5 new local tenants planned to move in.
Wow, this is huge news. And Will Hewitt spoke with those running the project as well as some of the new tenants and joins us live from Tower City. Will, what's going on over there?
Yeah, Monica, a lot of moving in, a lot of soon-to-be here signs, some construction going on as well as they are in phase 1 of this revitalization plan that they're currently running. Phase 1 is bringing tenants in, it's fixing some lighting, it's going through and doing a little bit of maintenance on the building as well. But some of those tenants we learned today, City Breaks Barbershop, Red Velvet, Feet Geeks, 360 Clothing, and Styles of Imagination are the 5 that have been announced, all local vendors. Bedrock tells me, though, they're hoping somewhere between 10 and 15 new tenants will all be moved in by Christmas. This, along with some of these repairs that are currently underway and events that they're bringing in, that's the first stage of their plan to bring Tower City back to its heyday.
Being able to bring in new tenants and breathe new life into Tower City and having the community so excited and the tenants who are coming in. So this is a light facelift on our way to a major facelift.
So that major facelift is phase 2. They're currently in the planning stages of that right now. They're not exactly sure when that's going to start. They think it's going to be sometime next year. They're working on phase 1 into it, but they do think maybe 12 to 18 months for phase 2 and a lot more shovel in the dirt, a lot more major renovation involved in that phase, guys.
All right, and so that will be sort of a transition. Again, what were you saying the timeline on that is, Will?
Yeah, they're thinking sometime next year, but they're not exactly sure, Sarah. And they also want to plan around a few things. You think of February, it's the NBA All-Star game in town. So you don't want all this stuff, thrown around and boxes moving in and big tarps out here as they do construction. They want to look their best when that fan base comes in here. So they're going to look at some of the events coming up and actually go through and figure out what they're going to do, and then they'll give a little better timeline. But they are thinking sometime next year.
Makes sense. You definitely want to plan around that stuff. And I know from people that have walked through already, you notice the changes very quickly.
Yeah, it's a little more polished right now. It looks a little bit better. And again, that's just phase one of a big phase two coming behind it. So they have big plans over here at Tower City.
I think it's great they're having local vendors. I'd like to see more of that. That's amazing.
Thanks, Will.
I'll pick you up a shirt.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, 5:15 now, and Jason has been looking at all things weekend. As Monica, you said today, sunshine. If we can have some more of that.
Yeah, this, I think, is the weekend to go check out the leaves on the trees, right, Jason?
I think so too, guys. Hey, Will is going to bring you a shirt. Maybe he might need to bring you a sweater because it's still going to be pretty chilly out there, but we're pouring out more sunshine across Northeast Ohio, and that has a lot of us very, very happy about that because if you may remember, last weekend was not as sunny, though. We had some wet weather moving on through it. Well, I want to start showing you this picture on live Doppler radar right now because as meteorologists, we are very much so having a geeked out moment. This is a very classic look of an area of high pressure. It rotates clockwise, it's subsiding air in the upper elevation, and it's absolutely a beaut. High pressure brings a stable, very sunny, very quiet air and also conditions to the region, and we love that, especially heading into the weekend. You can see where all the flow is coming right over us right now. It is just kind of parked over here, and it's allowing for our winds to be relatively calm as well. Not quite as blustery, not quite as brisk as it's been the past couple days here. So with calming winds expected overnight tonight, you guessed it. It's going to be fall perfection through the evening for our fall sports tonight, beginning at 7:30 across most area schools. It's going to be perfect conditions for a win. Your National Design Mart hour-by-hour forecast rolling forward here. Notice we keep with the light winds here. A breeze likely coming off the lake, but again, it's going to be very light here. With not a lot of cloud cover, we're going to allow our temperatures to fall overnight tonight. So waking up tomorrow morning, you'll be in the 30s. For the most part, upper 20s will inland, but then in the afternoon with more sunshine, heating things back up. Southerly winds, you can see that around 5 miles per hour. That'll elevate our temperatures a little bit, and it'll stay in the 40s along the lakeside through the evening and into the overnight. In the 30s we go again. But again, remaining clear, that is the biggest story in our weather story, at least for the weekend through Sunday, beginning in the low 40s and then even nearing 60s in the afternoon. Our air mass is what we have to focus on as well. It's part of our weather story over the next several days here because warming conditions remain mostly down to the south, but we'll have a ridge moving on in with another high pressure coming on Monday, and that will elevate our temperatures as well above the normal. Normal is about 56 degrees for this time of year, and we're talking 60s moving in early next week, and then another plunge of cold air coming in by the end of the week. So as we move this clock forward here, I'll keep the color contour on. You can see where the first system comes early next week. Light rain to start, and then another second batch coming on in. And we'll be on the backside of that low pressure system for next weekend. And for some, it'll change over from rain to a little bit of mixed precipitation. So we're certainly going to have to watch that. Union Mortgage, 7-day outlook. Turn those clocks back. Another reminder for you, Saturday night. You can see that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, 60s as I was talking about. Wednesday, upper 50s there. Veterans Day by Thursday. That's when that wet weather pattern comes back in Thursday heading into Fridays, guys. But again, lots of sunshine. Key takeaway.
You know what, Jason, you keep coming and doing weather if you're going to bring us this.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. So
You guessed
Glad to have it. Thank you,
right.
Jason. Next on What's New, the history of stand-up comedy comes to Cleveland. Mike Polk Jr. tells us all about Artemis Ward and his Cleveland connection.
Then, sweet surprise after a daughter surprises her mom after 2 years apart. It's worth the watch coming up. Well, I certainly did not know this. Did you know that the very first stand-up comedian ever got his start right here?
I'm not surprised, though. Somehow Cleveland has a role in everything. And our own resident comedian, Mike Polk Jr., tells us more about this history and how you can learn more, too.
Cleveland is home to many firsts. We had the first rock concert, the first indoor shopping mall, the first Monday night football game. Browns won 31-21, by the way.
But were you aware that Cleveland is also home to the world's first stand-up comedian? I wasn't, but I'm about to learn all about it.
According to comedy historian Rich Scheidner, Cleveland was indeed home to the world's first stand-up comic. His name was Artemis Ward, or at least that's what he went by on stage.
His name was Charles Farrar Brown. He had a brand of comedy. Artemis Ward became associated with comedy. He came here to write for the Plain Dealer. He started this really funny letters to the editor. One of his lines he wrote in the paper was, "A bigamist was jailed." And he said, "Why am I being punished for something that has its own punishment?"
Pretty good. 2 wives. Just explaining that. How do we define what makes somebody the first stand-up comedian?
If you look at stand-up comedy as one person going on stage with the express purpose of making an entire room full of people laugh, that's it. And that's what he did.
Now, he was a contemporary of Mark Twain. They were buddies.
I thought it was Twain was the first, and then Twain wrote an essay saying the funniest guy I ever saw was Artemis Ward, and he admitted, he said, everything I got from doing stand-up, I got from him. And he advertised his show as, he would say, the struggle begins at 8. Twain's advertisement when he first went on stage was, the trouble begins at 8. Same joke.
Mark Twain was a hack. I always knew it. So joke thievery goes back so far that the second comedian stole a joke from the first comedian.
That's right.
Amazing.
That's right.
Why don't we know about Artemis Ward?
Well, there were no audio recordings of him, no video. He died, he was only 32 years old. He died of tuberculosis in England. He was addicted to laughter. Even when he was dying of tuberculosis in London, he couldn't stop going on stage night after night.
Really?
Somebody said, you gotta stop doing it. He says, the laughter's keeping me going.
Would you welcome Rich Scheidner. Scheidner's passion for comedy history is understandable, as he's an accomplished comic himself.
I did about 14 Tonight shows with Johnny Carson, 4 with Leno, about a dozen Letterman back in the day. I did everything I was supposed to do.
If people want to learn more, how can they learn more about Artemis Ward?
Right here at Hilarities, right here,
right.
4 o'clock Saturday. Comedy is the best reflective art form. It's the most disposable. It doesn't last long. Comedy's tied to an era. But if you look at who's popular at the time, you can tell what's going on in the country, the zeitgeist of the country.
Many comedians will tell you that there was nothing scarier than the first time they ever went on stage to tell jokes. Now imagine being the very first person ever to go on stage to tell jokes. That takes some Cleveland moxie. So next time you're enjoying your favorite comedian's Netflix special, just remember that it was a hometown boy who warmed up the stage for all of them. Artemis Ward, stand-up comedy's opening act.
All right, name.
Don't have much of his material. That's the interesting thing.
Too bad.
I know. Well, we're just finding out about this guy, too, which is so crazy. I mean, people knew about him. There's actually a grade school named after him in town. That's his lone legacy, which, can you imagine, those kids have no idea that they're what they're named after. You know what I mean? They're just going into the school.
Is there like a Mike Polk Jr. elementary school in our future?
I mean, not yet. I mean, I assume, like, probably 2 days after I die, I'd imagine there'll probably be a bidding war of some sort.
Yeah.
No, but it was really interesting, and I could have talked to that guy talk shop with that guy all day long about nerd comic stuff, and I love that he's from Cleveland. Like, why not? You know, we've got the Rock Hall. Let's get a Comedy Hall of Fame going here, too.
I feel like the confidence is something that you talk about here, like that first time getting up there, and just how maybe that has changed, like the art of stand-up comedy over time.
Right. It's funny, though, everybody says, oh, it must take so much bravery to get up there. And it does take some, or you can be a crazy person. You know, if you have an open mic night and you put a sign up that says, hey, here's a microphone you can talk into, you're going to get a bunch of people who aren't just brave, just crazy people. But when you separate the wheat from the chaff, you can find some really good stuff.
I think you just have to be really good at putting down the hecklers.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had one.
You know?
I'm just kidding. I've gotten booed off stage several times. I got booed off stage like 2 weeks ago.
I salute both of you.
Sorry,
I don't
that
want to
was
sing
me.
on
No,
stage.
oh, was that you? I knew it was. I thought I recognized those boos. Yeah. All right. Well, that's my story about funny people in Cleveland. It was born right here.
Much appreciated.
No problem. I'm here for
Thanks, Mike. All right, our Worth the Watch comes from Georgia, where a Philly woman surprised her mom on her birthday while she was unloading groceries from her car. The pandemic kept them apart for 2 years. Take a look.
Hey, Mom, can you pass me a bag?
Nope.
Can you pass me a bag?
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. I hope she didn't give her mom a heart attack. Oh my goodness. Erica lives in Philly. She had tried to visit a few times before, but a pandemic obviously spoiled her plans. But I'm pretty sure looking at mom, that's made up for it. That's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Wow, she really got her. She like sort of collapses into the car there.
Yeah, I know.
I bet there was a big hug and reunion right after this video.
I know.
Right?
I love that the fact that the daughter is the one going, hey, mom, like setting her mom up for, you know, this amazing reunion.
And it's probably she was able to surprise her because the voice, again, is like not, you know, she's like, oh, that's, you know, that's just my daughter. But then she's like, wait a second, what are you doing here?
That's great.
So sweet. So
That's
sweet.
great. I hope she made her dinner, you know, at least, you know, with all the
With all the
groceries.
groceries. Well, still ahead here, OBJ is out. We told you what led, though, to the Browns cutting the wide receiver from the team. We're going to share your comments as well coming up.
Plus, preparing to launch, Betsy is in Florida right now checking on the Artemis program and its long-term project.
And Friday Feels, our tailgate segment continues on what's new. And we've got a local restaurant here today whipping up some fall football flavors.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Well, we begin at 5:30 with 3 things you need to know. Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson announced a 54-count indictment today, part of the first human trafficking investigation in the county. Tomlinson says 35-year-old Stephen Gilbert had at least 9 victims. The charges include human trafficking, racketeering, rape, kidnapping, and more.
And we have more good news on the COVID front. Pfizer says research shows its COVID antiviral pill is very promising. The drug maker says its data shows the pill reduces hospitalizations and deaths in high-risk COVID patients by up to 89%. Pfizer has not published its full data yet. The company will next apply to the FDA for review and give them the data to authorize it as soon as possible.
And with a unanimous vote, Cleveland City Council-elect members chose Blaine Griffin as their new president come January. The Ward 6 councilman was chosen in part for his experience and his relationships to bring balance to Mayor-elect Justin Bibbs' City Hall. Griffin says council has its own agenda, though, with addressing safety and poverty at the top of his list, along with restoring transparency and trust in city government. He leads a class of 17 that includes 5 new members and 5 women. And with that, we welcome you back to What's New tonight. It's an all-ladies show. Sara Shookman here with Monica Robbins tonight. Jay is off and Betsy is out on assignment.
Keeping Jay's seat warm. That's all I'm doing here. All right.
Hey, look, there's our girl.
We are actually, look at her. There's Betsy. We're checking in with her. She is in Florida at NASA as she prepares for its moon rocket launch in about 100 days. We'll talk to her in just a bit.
Can't wait for that. But first, we go to our top talker. It's Odell Beckham Jr. The conversation just keeps going as the Browns have officially released the wide receiver today. And this all came down on his 29th birthday.
Wow, that's quite the birthday present. Yeah, Nick Camino joining us now with what this means for him and the team and ouch.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a memorable birthday for OBJ.
Yes, so
yeah.
I mean,
he won't forget this one. And listen, we kind of knew this was the way that this was going. I mean, Jimmy had talked about it all week. We knew that this was the way things were trending. But today, it became official. The Browns officially releasing Odell Beckham Jr. He hasn't practiced all week again. We knew it was going this way. They were just kind of waiting on the Browns front office and OBJ's representatives to negotiate on an agreement that would allow the team to release the wideout. There's a lot of money tied to this, obviously. Plus, OBJ can't officially be claimed on waivers by another team until next week. Earlier here on What's New, we heard from Browns GM Andrew Berry, but according to multiple reports, OBJ and head coach Kevin Stefanski, they had not spoken since last Sunday. Well, today in Berea, we met with Kevin Stefanski. He met with the media to talk about this. Here's what he had to say.
I think this situation was handled the right way on both sides, on their side, on our side. We have to move on. Doesn't mean I'm not disappointed. You know, for all of our guys, you want to make sure that you get the most out of them. It just this is how we're going to handle it. And again, I do wish them well.
Monica, Sara, here's the reason they have to move on, too. They have a game coming up on Sunday down in Cincinnati against the Bengals. It's another divisional game, played poorly against the Steelers. I mean, you really need to make sure you win this football game, and you just hope this is almost a rallying cry and not a distraction for this football team this week.
So we saw this coming with the Browns. Everybody sort of kind of knew. But has anybody heard from OBJ, like what his perspective is on this?
I mean, he's kind of cut everybody off. I guess Baker Mayfield hasn't talked to him. Kevin Stefanski hasn't talked to him. His dad threw that social media post out there. Now a lot of people are saying, okay, what's next for OBJ? Where's he going to end up? Well, there's been a couple of teams that we have heard. I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders have been a team that's come up. I know earlier you mentioned the Steelers, Monica. They've got some nice receivers, but we'll see. Another team being mentioned in the division, the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh, ouch.
It would hurt to see him go to either one of those teams.
It would hurt.
No.
Send him to Detroit. How about like play with the Lions? You know, they haven't won a game yet. That'd be great.
We'll see. And maybe we'll be hearing from him on social media. So many of you have been chiming in there. And we have team coverage on today's big announcement with our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney. She's been following all of that. What folks are saying online, Stephanie?
Yeah, let me just grimace a little bit over that mention of the Ravens and OBJ potentially going to the Ravens before we move on here. But happy birthday, OBJ, right? You know, either happy birthday or sick burn from the Browns. But I can tell you this, fan reaction is not nice. While we haven't heard from OBJ directly, all signs point to the fact that he wanted out of the land and the mood of fans is one of goodbye and good riddance. Initial reaction to news of his release was that this was good news on a Friday, and people are just pointing out that if you want an OBJ Browns jersey, now's the time to get a good deal. The fans overall are ready to focus on football after a drama-filled week. Now, when we asked if people think the Browns offense will be better without OBJ, they said, yep, with a lot of snark. They said Stevie Wonder could do better, and he was never a Pro Bowler for the Browns, so no big loss there, and he will not be missed. And when 3 News sports analyst Ben Axelrod asked people for one word to describe the release of OBJ, we got lots of words. The ones that we can share here are failure, underwhelming, bye Felicia, that's a throwback, hopeful, relief, overdue, to name a few. Monica, Sarah, you know, here is the thing about Clevelanders. All signs point to OBJ wanted out of here, and it doesn't matter what kind of rock star you are. If you want to go, bye. So, boy, bye. That is the move.
Yeah.
People are ready to move on.
But really question that person who gets you an OBJ jersey for Christmas. That's all, you know?
Yeah, they were going for the deep discount. For
Yeah.
sure.
Or a re-gift.
Or a
There
re-gift.
you
Yeah,
go.
good point. Good point.
All right, thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks, Steph.
Well, next year on What's New, so Betsy may not be here with us, but she will be joining us live from Cape Canaveral. Wait until you see the cool assignment she got.
Plus, we will be talking to one local restaurant about a spicy treat sure to warm up anyone tailgating this season.
And Jason is here with a peek at the weekend forecast.
And maybe rainy down there and slightly starting to clear out where Betsy is, but it's not the same here. We had another day below average with lots of sunshine, but I have good news for you coming up in the full forecast. Stay with us.
All right, sunny today, and Jason has a good look at the forecast. But in honor of Jay and Mike and Matt Wentz and Betsy, I have to throw a weather word out at you, Jason.
Oh, okay, throw
I'm
away.
gonna give you moon. use it.
Okay. All right, I'll take that and I'll run with it. Let's talk about the forecast for you right now. Our good friend Betsy is down in Florida right now, where I was talking about the moon launching there. Of course, we don't really have a whole lot of wet weather to work with right now. What we do have is a big old fat area of high pressure, which we all know and love here. It stabilizes our conditions. It brings a lot of sunshine into the region. And that's what we have, getting that subsiding air here, stabilizing everything right now. This is a very cyclonic view of which we all know and love, as I said before. Winds are fairly light as well, so it's not bringing in a whole lot of cold air, but we do have a lot of cool air on tap headed for us later on this evening. But the escaping clouds will allow our temperatures to settle in the upper 20s still well inland and also near the freezing mark waking up for tomorrow morning here. Your National Design Mart hour-by-hour forecast will show that we're mainly clear overnight tonight. Perfect football weather here in the fall across northeast Ohio. 40s likely by the end of the game, and then again, as I said before, low 30s, upper 20s waking up for Saturday morning. A beautiful sunrise, a beautiful afternoon, and a beautiful evening is going to be on tap for us here. 11 p.m. on Saturday night, you can see there. If you're going out to Playhouse Square, mid to low 30s expected. You're going to need that jacket here. You're going to need likely a scarf or maybe even a hat as well, because again, it's going to be a bit on the colder side. But there's good news to report here. I want to show you where the air masses change its scope here as we head towards next week. Cold air stay locked in up to the north. Ridge of high pressure moves in, brings warmer air to us here early on in the week, and then another push of cold air coming by the end of the week. So we have two systems that we're watching, the first of which coming on Tuesday in the afternoon. Light rain to move on in here, but again, you'll see that we still have that ridge building in ahead of the next system. That moves in towards the end of the week. That will bring a frontal boundary in here, light to moderate showers to start, west moving towards the east, with heavier showers pushing on in, and we could likely see a little bit of mixing as well, because on the backside of the low that we're expecting, we'll have near freezing temperatures, and we'll likely have some of that precipitation crisscrossing our area, mainly up to our north and eastern counties like Ashtabula. For tonight, again, near the freezing mark, 31 degrees expected, a mainly clear night, and a mostly sunny day for tomorrow as well. High temperatures roughly about 53 degrees, still being below average. But your Union Home Mortgage 7-day outlook will show that we're edging above average. Sunday, sunny skies. Monday, Tuesday, few clouds. By Wednesday, we increase the cloud covering. You can see there by Veterans Day on Thursday, Sarah, you'll see a little bit of rain mixing on in, but even more rain likely expected by the end of the week, this time next week.
Just looking forward to that extra hour of sleep right now, and then the sunshine that follows.
It's going to be oh so good.
Thank you, Jason. Well, you've heard us say it. Betsy is on assignment with our friends at NASA today. She is reporting on the project that will eventually be out of this world, quite literally. And she joins us now live in Cape Canaveral, Florida at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Betsy, so good to see you. And Northeast Ohio really is playing a critical role in this latest adventure.
We are very much on the path back to the moon and beyond. You'll hear more about that coming up. But today, we came to Kennedy Space Center. We were invited by NASA to come back because we got to check out the Artemis 1 rocket. This thing is fantastic, jaw-dropping when you turn the corner and you see it. 322 feet tall. Keep in mind, friends, the Hilton Hotel in downtown Cleveland is 377 feet tall. So this thing is almost as tall as the Hilton Hotel. And the white part at the top, that is where the Orion space capsule is housed, along with the European service module. And all of that will basically be the part that comes off and goes around the moon. That big orange part, that is the core stage. That it will get this entire contraption into low Earth orbit. But the real stars of the launch show will be those white solid rocket boosters on either side. Those things will be responsible for 80% of the thrust for the first 2 minutes of the launch. We're talking 50 million pounds of rocket to get off the ground. So it is just incredible, the feat that comes together, all the pieces that come together to make this rocket happen. But this rocket is just the beginning of this whole program, but it has been a long time coming. NASA's Next Generation Space Program has a goal to get humans farther from Earth than ever before, not only getting the first woman and person of color to the moon and establishing a base there, but getting people to the surface of Mars.
The Artemis program is a long-term project with more than a decade of achievements and innovation coming together here with Artemis 1. Hundreds of engineers and scientists from around the globe working to create the tallest and most powerful rocket NASA has ever built, now standing inside the Vehicle Assembly Building at Kennedy Space Center, and will be lifting off just months from now in an uncrewed flight that will establish the path back to the lunar surface. It has been a testament to teamwork from the beginning, with critical elements being designed, built, tested, and delivered from around the nation and the world. And the jewel perched at the top inside a protective cone, the crew module mated to its mechanical services hardware, the Orion spacecraft. This SUV-sized pressurized capsule will be home to up to 6 astronauts on their journey to, through, and back from space, so testing has been fastidious. Testing that included a trip to Northeast Ohio in November 2019 for a stint in the largest thermal vacuum chamber in the world at NASA's Neil A. Armstrong Test Facility in Sandusky. For 4 months, it was tested in the simulated extremes of space. Orion was shipped back to Kennedy Space Center just last March, and a couple weeks ago, it was lifted into place at the top of the rocket to begin preparations for launch in early 2022. So the rocket will be coming out of the Vehicle Assembly Building and making its way out to the historic Launch Pad 39B. Launch Pad 39B is what Apollo 11 launched from. It too is being retooled to support this gigantic rocket, the most powerful rocket that NASA has ever built, the most powerful rocket in the world. And this is just the first version of it. Remember, there are more versions to come. Heavier and heavier loads will be taking place in order to set up a moon base and then eventually help America get to Mars. Just an incredible project, mind-blowing in scope and size and longevity, but it is so cool to follow along. I posted some behind-the-scenes videos from inside the Vehicle Assembly Building and some other goodies here at Kennedy Space Center on my Instagram page at Betsy Kling. You can find those there. And don't forget, we've been on this for 2+ years, and we've posted all of our stories in a really great section at WKYC.com. There's so much great info in there, and I, for one, cannot wait for this launch to happen. It is going to be stunning. Sarah.
So true, and I think we'll just all be watching, thinking of the brilliant Northeast Ohioans who have had a hand in it. Thanks, Betsy.
A very important hand. You got it.
Well, next year on What's New, Ready, Set, Snack. We'll have some fun with fall foods to take tailgating. And then, so why is our Holly Strano dressed up like a Christmas angel? How she's helping to spread some holiday cheer next.
They're cheap.
Yes, I got you. Hello, hello, hello. You got me? What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Friday. It is time for our Ready, Set, Snack tailgating segment. Ready, Set, Snack. Say that 20 times fast. Ready, Set, Snack. Blah, blah, blah. All right, everybody, it is Friday, and it is time for our Ready, Set, Snack tailgating segment, and I so scored with this segment. I am so happy. Joining me is Jack Orose from the Fairmount in Cleveland Heights, and you're making one of my favorites.
Yes, so this is our buffalo cauliflower. This is like a perfect item for this kind of weather. It's perfect for like tailgating. It's actually a nice vegetarian alternative for something traditional like wings or something like that.
And it's delicious. It just looks good. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
thank
tell us
you.
what you do.
So basically, you've got your flour and cornstarch. You're going to do flour 2-to-1 on the cornstarch. I already kind of made this mixed here. You're actually going to use cold soda water. And the reason you do this is because it makes it crispier. And that's how you get that nice crisp. What
I
we
never
do
thought
is,
of doing that.
Yeah, we pour that in there, and you're going to see kind of the consistency that I'm going for. So it's going to be almost like a slightly more runny version of like a pancake batter, if you will. So you mix this really good, get this all mixed up. You know, you don't have to give it a super thick coating. You're just going to get a little bit on there, kind of work that in. And then basically what you do is you take your kind of bite-sized florets that you cut. I like using rainbow cauliflower, so if you ever come in, you get a green piece of cauliflower. It's not rotten. It's we do that on purpose. And basically, you just kind of throw these in the bowl, and you mix them all up, and you get a nice coating on them. And that's exactly what you want to see. You want it just like that. And it doesn't. It can still have. You can see some of the green coming through there. So luckily, I actually par-cooked some, just so we can show the folks at home how that we would do this, since it takes a little bit more time than we have. So we have 350-degree oil. That's the perfect temperature for your oil. You're going to drop some of this in here. This is par-cooked, and you drop it in just like that. You can see it's floating real nice there.
So you say par-cooked, you mean you already threw it in
So
and
we
took it
already
out?
fried this till it was just about fork tender, which is great for at home if you want to, cook it and then take it somewhere else. You could finish it, and once it's par-cooked, you can really cook it any way that you like. So we dropped a couple in here like this.
How long does it typically take to fry?
You know, the par-cook takes about 4 to 5 minutes, and then the reheat, if you decide to reheat it, is about, you'll see pretty quick. This is going to come up pretty quickly. So about 2 or 3 minutes, you can see that it's floating already.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what you want to see. It's a little chilly out here, so that sometimes changes your cook times. But these, as soon as they start floating, you can see they're browning up, getting nice and crispy. So what we're going to do is, so that we can maybe try this live on air, we're gonna get these out of here. Be careful, because we are working with hot oil here. You can see how nice and crispy these are. You're going to put it in your stainless steel bowl. And it's actually okay if some of the breading flakes off. That actually lends to a crispier product there. We have your favorite sauce. We've got some buffalo sauce here. And we're just going to drizzle that all over it real nice.
So what about people who may not want to do the fryer? Like I do mine in an air fryer. Can I use the same kind of mixture?
You can use the same mixture, and you're just going to get them fork tender, like I said. And again, if you pull them out and you do that par cook like we talked about, it actually makes them crispier on your reheat.
Oh.
So anytime you blanch something or par cook it, it actually lends itself to a better product. So you can hear these are nice and crispy. Got some sauce on there, and then I like to garnish with a little bit of green onion like that, and we actually make a vegan tzatziki.
Oh, wow.
And that is the finished product. So
Okay.
I brought some forks for us if you would like to
All right,
try.
I found it. I'm digging in.
And see what you think.
Let me see here. Oh,
Yeah, a little, yeah. There we go. I'm gonna have one with you.
Oh.
It might be a little hot. Warm you up a little bit for sure.
That's amazing.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
That's amazing. I'm staying out here to eat the rest
It clears out your sinus. It's good.
It's really good. Sarah,
Good.
back to you.
Just a little spice and healthy for you, too. Thanks for the recipe.
That's what I love about it.
All right, well, after the break, we will show you the moment Holly Strano flipped the switch today, making the season feel a little more jolly. And then on What Matters Most at 6, a local woman is living with regrets after not getting her COVID vaccine. The message she has for those who also aren't getting the shot. Monica's got that story.
Hey Al, how are you? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Good evening and thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Russ Mitchell. Moving on, the drama surrounding Odell Beckham Jr. and the Browns.
Check 1, 2. Yeah, I got you. Check 2, 3, 1, 2. Will over at Tower City.
What's up, Al? How we doing? Microphone check. Here with Russ Mitchell. Going to talk about the soap opera known as
Welcome back. Our Show Us Something Good comes from our very own Holly Strano. Today, she helped get Northeast Ohio into the holiday spirit by flipping the switch at Magic 105.7 to all the holiday tunes. And she showed up dressed as a Christmas angel.
But of course.
Of course she did, yeah. She's even joined by Mr. Jingling. Check that out.
I love the Christmas music, but I have to say, I'm going to wait a few more weeks until I join them.
You know what? I'm good with it the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, doing it anytime before that is just, like, not good for me.
Once I'm in, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I just need I need a few more.
Thanks for watching What's New, everybody.
Yeah, What Matters Most with Russ starts right now.
Now at 6, OBJ.